Hello guys, and let's have a look at the failures of the Russian monster this week. Remember how before the start of the special military operation, Russian dictator Putin addressed his population, persuading them Blitzkrieg will be blitz really fast and all of the Ukraine will become part of the Russian Federation. And now, after more than 2.5 years of Russian war in Ukraine, Russian war is also in Russia and it expands. This week was a week of the most massive attack of Ukrainian drones on 16 Russian regions. And in that regions, Ukrainian drones were destroying military objects like airfields, like warehouses and oil refineries that supply Russian military machine. And Russia targeted Ukrainian higher educational establishments in Poltava, in Sumy, in Kharkiv, and even those people who desperately try to remain neutral, witnessing war crimes of Russia, like ones in Kharkiv or ones in Lviv, where they simply destroy civilian districts, perhaps must finally make a choice. This was also a week of Putin's undermining international rules once again when he visited Mongolia, a country that signed Rome's statute and was supposed to arrest him according to the order and warrant of the International Criminal Court, but failed to do so. Same as some NATO countries failed to shut down Russian drones, and I don't have explanation for that. Why? There are some important changes on the front lines in Pokrovsk, and Ukrainian special military operation to Kursk continues successfully. So let's have a look at these important events of this week on our way to the victory. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine and I'm proud to be Ukrainian. If you want to learn more about my brave country in these challenging times, subscribe, demonstrate your solidarity and help us fight together, including against Russian fakes. Because right now, living in your safe country, maybe thousands of kilometers away from Ukraine, you may think that you're totally safe, but Russian propagandists, Russian spies are working to ruin your normalcy. Please be careful, and I'm sure it's just like a go-to bag that every Ukrainian has, some go-to tips how to counterfight Russian propaganda that we have on the channel too. But let's start with this good news of the most massive attack that took place this week in 16 Russian regions, including Moscow, Ryazan, Belgorod, traditionally Kursk, Lipetsk, and many more. 16 Russian regions. And Ukrainian drones managed to travel there unstopped. Another proof that Russia is all fake, and this image of a strong country is just an image. In reality, it is a rusty, dying empire unable to protect itself. Ukrainian drones neutralized Russian military airfields, Russian warehouses, for example, just like yesterday in Voronezh. And also, a beautiful message was sent to the heart of the evil empire when Ukrainian drones set on fire Moscow oil refinery, and now it is not working. So, with each day, Ukrainian drones travel further and achieve more. But have a look at the difference between the targets that we choose. Ukrainian armed forces, even after years of Russian crimes, violence in our country, continue neutralizing Russian military objects, destroying warehouses, storages of their missiles, and Russians continue targeting Ukrainian higher educational establishments. September is the month when studies begin in schools and in universities, and it is another proof of how criminal, how violent Russia is, and another reminder, no, this is not war for resources or for territories. This is Russia's desire to destroy a successful, independent democracy too close to its borders. But, you know, democracies, even imperfect, always win over crazy authoritarian regimes. And we work hard to create a big buffer zone. And I don't mind if all of the Russian Federation would be turned into a big buffer zone. Right now, this is definitely Kursk region. The settlements are under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces, more than 1,300 square kilometers, and that is more than Russians managed to capture since the start of their May Kharkiv offensive. Just think about that. Even those supporters of Russia that often drop litter in the comments. Subscribe to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine and to see Kremlin defeated. And today I'm also honored to introduce you to a new and very important campaign that is supported by United 24, and it has a very beautiful name, Safe Terrain, because a quarter of Ukrainian territory is now mined, and it may take more than 10 years to demine this land, and these are fields and forests, and it's all very dangerous. And that's why we desperately need various innovative technologies to demine these territories. And beautiful people like Timothy Snyder and Mark Hamill decided to start a fundraiser for the demining robots that will do the job instead of people. And I'm leaving the link for you to join this campaign if you want to, but this is definitely a very good and a very humane cause. And I'm honestly very honored to introduce it to our community. But more active approach to the protection of Ukrainian territory is happening right now in Kursk, where we take Russian prisoners of war, where we control more and more of the territories, but Russians applied scorched earth policy, which is insane, to their own lands. And there are reports from the people of Sudzha who literally do not know what to do. They could not predict that Russia can be so violent to itself. It's not surprising for me, because if you have a look at the number of Russian losses, it is more than 600,000 people for literally nothing, because they did not manage to achieve Putin's dreams of taking over Ukraine, demilitarizing Ukraine, or denationalizing Ukraine. All they did is just the country. Now we are perhaps the strongest army, at least in Europe, and we are extremely united. I'm sure sometime soon we will become NATO members. And by the way, because of Putin's attack on Ukraine, two countries that were hesitant have become NATO members, Sweden and Finland. My greetings to you. And the border of Russia with NATO actually grew much bigger than it was before the start of the full-scale invasion. So honestly, if you are neutral and you are objective and you stop being afraid of Russia's image of a superpower, you can clearly see how they are failing. That's very obvious. None of Putin's plans became reality, and Ukrainian people grow only stronger in their desire to defeat Russia, not to negotiate with Russia. I'm sorry, nobody wants it here. First, we need to defeat the Russian Federation, to punish Putin, and then we will negotiate with the people who will come next. And maybe this will not be just one country, but many more smaller, more democratic republics. Because, a kind reminder, Russian Federation consists of 22 national republics, many of which are very, very different linguistically, culturally, religiously from Moscow. And it's a fake image that many people still have in their brain, that all of this territory is Russia, all people are the same and alike. Oh my God, no people, that is totally wrong. Russia tried to use propaganda techniques and to say that Kursk operation is something they don't mind. Like, they don't mind people invading their country, they don't mind people taking over control their settlements. They do not explain how was it possible. You know, when Putin says no big deal, he actually never clarifies how could it be possible that thousands of Ukrainian soldiers crossed the border of such a strong country as Russia. Because the answer is obvious. Russia is all fake. Russia is all rusty, rotten, blah. As our Kursk operation continues, they need more and more soldiers in that area, and according to the preliminary estimates, 60,000 of Russian soldiers were moved from the front lines in Ukraine to the front lines in Russia. I think that's a beautiful plan, honestly. And now they are back home where they belong, protecting their territories or joining the prisoners of war taken by the Ukrainian armed forces there. And there are a lot, which is also good. We can exchange them for our brave soldiers who are now in awful Russian captivity. And honestly, I think that many of these Russian soldiers, when captured by Ukrainian soldiers, have a better life than it is in the Russian army. And it is also important that, according to our report, the situation in Pokrovsk region of Ukraine and the front lines is getting better. And that might be a consequence of the Kursk operation, because now we have counteroffensive of Ukrainian armed forces in that direction. It is just starting, and I'm sure in the days to come I will tell you more. But the signals are very, very positive, and I'm happy to speak about that. But I'm very disappointed to speak about Mongolia and the way it reacted to Putin's visit. It was obvious they will not arrest him, but the explanation was very pathetic. Like, we are energetically dependent on Russia, that's why we cannot arrest Putin. Is Putin the one producing energy, and that when he's in prison he won't be able to produce energy? Guys, it is very wrong to equate natural resources of a very big territory to one dying dictator who desperately wants to control it. I am sure that after Putin is in prison, there will be lots of people ready to become the leaders of the Russian Federation and ready to continue selling gas, energy, whatever you want, even for lower prices. So this excuse is not an excuse. This is just an illustration of weakness of Mongolia and, unfortunately, weakness of the International Criminal Court, because I don't see anything else coming out of that. And this is another dangerous precedent. Russia loves to undermine international law, international agreements, and the only reason of Putin's visit to Mongolia was actually to demonstrate to his other totalitarian, authoritarian friends that, look, International Criminal Court is not working. Don't be afraid of that. Bomb civilians. That's very bad. Honestly, that's very bad. Same as lots, we may say already lots of Russian drones cross the border of NATO countries like Poland and Romania, and these countries do not react. And obviously this is not an escalation if you shoot on your own territory. You are free to shoot various flying unknown objects on your territory. Moreover, we know that NATO surveillance works really well, and people clearly understand what kind of objects are crossing their borders. So that's insane, they don't do it. And that is an illustration of weakness. It is not about Article 5, it is not about escalation, it's just like shooting something on your own territory. You are not going to shoot that on the territory of Ukraine or Russia, you are doing it in your home. Using these logics, we may think that, I don't know, training soldiers on your territories is also wrong because it is a sign of escalation. Why are you training soldiers? Are you threatening Russia? That's an escalation. I don't know who is that evil genius who is actually on the democratic side, but obviously working for the Russian side and other authoritarian regimes who introduced this fear of escalation. Because at the very beginning, Putin did not have that many ideas, like don't do that, don't do this, because it's an escalation. It was actually phrases brought by European and American politicians that Russian propaganda later caught really quickly. And if you want to be aware of various Russian propaganda fakes and things, subscribe, join the community of our channel. We discuss that in the community, in the videos, and in the comments below. By the way, you may provide your examples. I'm always happy to learn more and to be more protected this way. And during this week, we've learned that Russia tried to interfere in the process of elections in the United States, and I can tell you, it is not the first time. And it is not only in the United States. I am convinced that many countries of the European Union that had suffered various strikes, protests, unpredictable movements, violence, are actually victims of this invisible hybrid Russian war, because they don't care about their own problems. They never analyze what is happening inside Russia and how it can be improved, but they are very careful and very professional observing internal problems of other countries and making these problems greater, more painful. I like dropping woods into the fire. I don't know if there is such a phrase, but these propagandists, they can get huge sums of money. They can look like your best citizens, like very natural. They are actually your citizens, but they share Russian narratives and they try to undermine the evil committed by Russia. They focus on, I don't know, personalities instead of policies and practices. They treat countries as the ones that belong to someone, which is very, very wrong. Believe me, I was born still in the times of the Soviet Union, and even the worst democracy is always better than the best authoritarian regime. Trust me, and that's why Ukrainians fight so strong against this Russian invasion. It is pure evil, but we are stronger because we are a democracy, and there are many other democratic friends around the world that support us, and I'm very grateful for that. So join me on Instagram, X, Threads, and Discord to get more updates from everyday Ukrainian life, and the links are in the description of this video. Also, there is a link for our merch shop where we have lots of sweatshirts, caps, t-shirts, cups, stickers, lots of really good products that work well as reminders and conversation starters about Ukraine. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, but most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!